Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Friday, February 3rd Kupuna Caucus meeting. I'm glad to see everyone on this call. Thank you to my colleagues for being here. Rep Amato, thanks for being here. Hopefully you're feeling better. I think that's the only one. Oh, Rep Cochran, I see her on. Thank you for joining, Rep Cochran. Appreciate you being here. I think Senator Moriwaki is probably on a hearing right now, so she will join us at some point if she is free. But I will try and get this moving so we can get onto our agenda. We have a few speakers, and I think we're going to try and discuss some of our Kupuna Caucus package. So first up, we have our Senior Medicare Patrol presentation on fraud investigation and prevention. So who is our rep today for that?
That would be me, Jeff Woodland.
Yeah. Take it away, Jeff.
Can I share screen? It says disabled.
Oh, Charles, can you take care of that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Does it show up for you guys?
Yes, looks good. Thank you.
Awesome. I get to do this right, folks. Welcome, and thank you guys for letting me share some information with you. If at any time you can't hear me or something happens, please just let me know. I appreciate you guys' time. I know you guys have a busy schedule. So just to give you a shot, some of you may know what SMP Hawaii is, but not everybody probably does. So we'll do a broad overview of our program. I will tell you that I am very passionate about this program. So if it sounds like I'm very excited and happy, do not be surprised. So SMP Hawaii, where does it come from? What is it for? So it's a federally funded program that is for our kapunas on the island to help ensure that Medicare and sometimes as well as Medicaid fraud is diminished. We are trying to be the best that we can at answering the questions. Some of the questions that we get, these questions I put on the screen are things that I have actually heard on our helpline. That are some things, and if you take a look at some of them are very, very concerning. They took my information. I didn't get what they said they were going to send me. Did I get scammed? Did I get scammed? Is this a scam? Questions all the time. COVID test kits are still a huge issue for us. Somebody's using my Medicare number. We try to advocate for our Medicare recipients to please make sure that they itemize and look over their statements every month, even if they have a zero balance, and we give some explanations as to why that's so important. Genetic testing is still a big issue. People borrowing. We at SMP Hawaii, we don't limit ourselves to just the Medicare and Medicaid fraud. We don't turn people away when they call us, and some of the stories that we get can be just absolutely heart-wrenching. Questions like, I know I just met her, but she won't pay me back. The knee brace one, people are still getting knee braces that they didn't need or didn't order, and co-pays are still an issue. We do romance scams. I have had several calls from family members who need us to reach out to their loved ones to have conversations with them to explain that the person is not going to come to you in real life, and just explain the tragedy of all that. And then the biggest one that we get at least half of the calls, I get these people calling saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to turn to, but you know what? I can't tell my family. So what do I do? And so, we have to respect them. They are adults. But we really try to navigate them back to their loved ones so that they can have open conversations. Ultimately, these things are going to come out. So we got to try to encourage them. It's a shame thing. We got to try to get rid of the shame thing. How severe is the problem? Well, again, lots of you know these numbers, but we'll just briefly go over them. 10,000 plus Americans turn 65 every day and become eligible for Medicare. 12.2 million Medicare recipients are enrolled in the United States. In Hawaii, these numbers are staggering. In Hawaii, 1 in 4 residents is currently 65 and over, and the population is growing at 17% every year. And by the year 2030, think about this, people, we will represent 1/3 of Hawaii's total population. I will actually probably be in that category as well with them. And that is, if you can imagine, at 1 person out of every 3 is in this population, that's kind of daunting. We need to step everything up. In 2017, Hawaii had 246,000 eligible people for Medicare, and in 2037, the group is expected to grow to over 500,000 people. Hospital and drug costs are expected to exceed $1 trillion by the end of 2022, and Medicaid loses, this is an estimate, a rough estimate, 70 billion, that's a B, that's not a typo, annually to fraudulent claims. And Medicare, as we know, has a solvency issue right now. So just briefly, what is Medicare abuse versus fraud? Medicare abuse is when a provider supplies a product that are not medically necessary. That's the knee brace kinds of issues. Medicare fraud is when somebody isn't intentionally billing for services that are either not received or they're billing at a higher rate. We just had a call on this one. The person was very proactive with their Medicare and was being told that, that they were being charged. She noticed there was a surgeon's charge on her Medicare, and there were no surgeons in the office that were helping her. So that was a good catch on her part. We helped her navigate through that one. Why should we care? So we have a smaller workforce taking care of our retired population. 70 billion in taxpayer dollars again goes to false claims, and the Medicare trust fund is at high risk of depletion. The effect of this is already showing up to our recipients. Medicare implement costs and containing measures have to have been put into place. We have higher monthly premiums now. I believe it's somewhere around $20 a month that they're going up, and that's just the initial one. Lower coverages for the services that they needed. Huge in Hawaii, especially for you guys on the neighbor island, loss of doctors participating and accepting Medicare. We already have a doctor shortage. This is only going to aggravate it more. Quality of care and access are issues, and that results in lower health outcomes for our aged population, as well as more older adults in Hawaii are now going to be at risk of poverty, and that's going to only escalate. Love this picture. This is one of our information booths at Pro Ridge Center. So our mission for our federal mission is to empower and assist Medicare beneficiaries, their families and caregivers to prevent, detect, and report healthcare fraud, errors, and abuse through outreach, counseling, and education. We are one of 54 chapters administered in Hawaii by the Hawaii Department of Health Executive Office on Aging. Yay, I'm so glad to be here. SMP is a volunteer-based program that offers free one-on-one counseling, outreach, referrals. Referrals are huge, and assistance, and that is a broad term. Our assistance, we're still trying to figure out how far we can go. With more help, we'll even be able to go further. Medicare, some of the Medicare scams, Medicare is some of the scams. And again, I said, we don't just say no to anybody that calls us. I mean, I'm on Google all the time searching for people, but as well as the volunteers who do the calls. But the COVID test, the genetic testing, again, the romance scams. I cannot tell you the number of Target gift cards scams that I have heard about. It's insane. Amazing investment opportunities that people have been told about, that they started putting down money on, home improvements, you name it. Authority imposters, so people calling, pretending to be Social Security, the police, federal agents. $100,000 scam on the Big Island for a lady who is convinced that there is a federal agent putting drugs on her property, and she's going to be arrested unless she turns over cards, gift cards, and she is absolutely convinced it's happening. Ransomware, online phishing, and spoofing are only some of the scams that we help people navigate through. Scams continue to target our kupuna. In Hawaii, we are, and that's one of the reasons why we love Hawaii, we are a very trusting people. We are a very sharing people. We are an island people who needs to share our resources. And as a result of that, we are more at risk than other populations. We believe and want to share at a greater amount. There used to be a time where Hawaii didn't have anything. And for those of us who can remember, I can remember the first Kmart store on the island, which was insane parking in downtown Honolulu. But now we have everything here, and we not only have everything, but we have everybody coming at us, and the ocean doesn't protect us anymore because a lot of our scams come through the internet and through telephones and stuff like that. So the ocean, we're not isolated anymore. We're part of everybody. This breaks down in percentage the national averages. So 41% are still in person for scams. Those can be building ramps for people, getting home improvements that are awesome prices and then they don't show up. Text and telephone scams. If I could see you guys, I'd ask for a show of hands. How many of us are getting calls, the text messages, the bleeps, all of that craziness? Internet contact still is at 15%, which surprises me. I thought our virus protectors would protect us from that, but apparently that still comes through. That could also be emails as well. Mailings, print material, that's still coming to our mailboxes. And then there's 2% that's unknown. And I have seen multiple TV commercials and Facebook commercials as well. And those numbers, I'm not sure where they would fit in here, but there are still television and internet commercials that are clearly scams, but they're still being allowed to be telecast. So we have to keep educating everybody to watch out for that. Some of the publications that we are insanely proud of, we do everything in-house. We have some amazing staff that take care of building all of these things, but we have these amazing flyers. And if you haven't seen these in the community, if you see us out, if anybody wants this sent to them, we'll happily send them to us. We built the first one was Kupuna Basics, Computer Basics. That flies off our shelf. And our brand new one, which is now just going to start flying off our shelf, is Computer Basics for Kupuna's number 2. There's a tongue twister. These are awesome little things, especially for people who have learned the internet backwards. It's the way I describe it. But for people who didn't grow up with the internet in their hand and are learning about the internet from the other direction. And these are just priceless. They're so helpful. But these are just 2 of the many publications that we have for our programs. And we share our resources throughout our programs so that we can even reach greater. This picture is quite devastating to me, but I have to tell you, this is exactly how I feel when I take calls. Hawaii has a huge shame factor again, and it really devastates people when they lose out on their resources, their ability to trust people. It can be so devastating. And one of the worst and best parts of my job are all the contacts I get to make with all of these amazing people. And I'm pretty good at turning it around and trying to teach people to make the best of these situations. I mean, we can't always get their money back. We can make referrals, and we have been successful at making referrals to people that can help them get their money back. But we really need to educate more so that we can stop this before. And that might just be getting the S&P name out there more so that we can have them calling our helplines just to ask, because most of the time people will call, is this a scam? Yes, it is. That it's done. So unfortunately, not everybody knows about this program. Hopefully it will get more and more popular. There's a couple examples. We had a Hilo family. It was a $70,000 transaction that was leaving the bank, and the bank couldn't stop it, wouldn't stop it. The police were having a hard time with it. The family was very successful in advocating for themselves. We are asking that family to be a part of our web series that's going to start very soon. Anybody wants to be a part of that. Our other program person that works with me, Norma, if you don't know who Norma is, she's amazing, but she has gotten together all of the vice presidents from all of the major banks in web meetings to challenge each other to step up their practices. And she did just an amazing job at just challenging them to say, what is your responsibility? It's our money in your banks. What is your responsibility to protect us? And then they're working with the banks. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to leave it at that. So please, if you can sign up for that, it's going to be quite. That family is going to be one of the people that participates in that web series, and they're going to put in questions for us and really challenge the bank VPs to, here's some really true examples of what happens. One of my first weeks on the job, I got a call from a lady who had been, she was totally angry. The Long's cashier in Manoa would not sell her another $5,000 in gift cards. She called me because she wanted me to, I don't know what she wanted me to do, but I was like, no, that is a scam. And she was like so embarrassed. She felt so bad. She had yelled at the cashier. I was so grateful. I challenged her to say thank you to the cashier. I got in my car and drove down to Long's, and I met with her, and she is just an amazing person. She is trying to teach all of her cashiers to protect our kupuna. I brought her lots of brochures. They're going to try to pass them out to the cashiers, but they're going to also try to put them in the hands of the people when they come to buy the gift cards. And I was just at a Long's the other day, and when I went to buy something, there was a message on the screen now. So it looks like we're seeing some responsibility at the stores. So we're hoping that we can only progress with that and to try to encourage people, them. Lonnie, are you on right now?
I sure am, Jeff. Great
Can you
job.
give examples of the other two, because these were before my time? I want to give
Yeah,
this.
of course. So, working at the Executive Office on Aging, we have so much helpful information, and we make sure that we email them not only to our partners, but also to our friends and family. That's the best we can do. It's much more valuable than any pen or promo item that we can possibly give out. And so we got a story, and it was very disheartening that a actual family member of an EOA staff was scammed out of $60,000. And the EOA staff person did not learn about it until 2.5 weeks later, when the rent was due, and their family member had to tell them because the house account had been compromised. Not only had she pulled out her own savings and wire transferred it to the quote unquote IRS office in Hong Kong, but she had actually tried to pull out the house account that they both shared, and tried to wire transfer that. Unfortunately, the bank prevented her, even though she went to multiple branches. So, it's very disheartening to know that even though we send out this information, we don't know how much it actually resonates with folks. And by the time it really hits home, it's because it's someone that we know, someone that we love, and somehow we've been personally affected by it, whether it be emotionally or financially. So that's a really tough case that we had to learn that, nobody's isolated from this case. Anybody, everyone here can be scammed. And when we investigated and we asked about what kind of investigation would be done, they said, well, if it this was the comment given to us: if it was over $1 million, then the national feds would get involved. But they were knee deep in cases already, and this was only $60,000. Again, very disheartening, because $60,000 could be someone's life savings. But it was small potatoes, and so it was just swept under the rug, pretty much. And so that brought us to 2023, when we said we need to start asking the financial institutions, what are you doing to help protect our kupuna? Because how many of us actually ask the banks, what are your training protocols to their frontline cashiers? Many times we choose a bank because of its location, or because of its hours of operation. They're open on Saturdays, or because every time I walk in, they say, "Good morning, Ms. Sakamoto." But did we really look into their training protocols, and what do they do when they have a customer who has been banking with them for 50 years, and for the first time in 50 years they take out $50,000 and try to wire transfer it? Are there protocols in place that's going to prevent that from happening? Is there intervention specialists at each branch that customer can then be referred to, so they can vet this wire transfer to see, is it really legitimate? Because oftentimes these clients are in duress. They're under severe duress. The bank, the scammers are so complex that they really appeal to the person's fear and anxiety. And when we talked to the Better Business Bureau, they said it's called under the ether. They are really under the ether. They are so anxious and they're not thinking straight. And so we're trying to shed some light on this issue, and the 2023 series is going to be amazing. And I want to introduce Norma Kopp, who's joined now, and she has been the person that's been corralling the top banking officials at Hawaii's top banks, and they're going to be presenting to all of us in a series of webinars this year. So Norma.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having us. One of the things we always want to make sure that we stress to the people that engage with us, meaning for this series, our bank leaders, is that it's more than just money. It's more than just assets and tangible savings. It's about life legacy. And they were quick to coordinate with me the Zoom meeting to prep for this. One of the things that I think one of the banks will take a lead on is the psychological, mental, emotional stress when grandma, auntie, or uncle, or cousin, or brother, or calabash nephew falls victim, and there is this incredible backlash of blame and guilt. And some of that leads to suicide. So one of the banks, I won't name who, you just have to show up and engage with us, will take the lead on the blaming and the name calling and the violence that takes place within households, if we're lucky to even have a house, and to say, we need to change that narrative. And that's what this series is all about. Like last year with caregiving, those of you who attended month long for several months from April to October, to engage in dialogue, to ask those questions, and to feel validated in knowing that scams will take people down. We're not immune to it. Just because we work in the anti-scam business, we're not immune to it. And, we just want to share the mana'o. We want to uplift our community. We really want to change the narrative at the individual level and the collective level. Because as you all know, we are aging every day, the sun rises, and we are leading the nation in longevity. Average expectancy of 83.1 years. And it is expensive to live here. And so when scams hit any class or all classes socioeconomically, it impacts not just that household, but the families around them and so forth. So let's all engage, let's learn, let's bring the questions to the forefront, and know that kudos to the banks that took my invite to come and just share their mana'o and help us help one another.
Thank you, Norma. Yep. And these are our
You're
contact information for our program. Please share this number as much as you want. If anybody needs any brochures or handouts, we are happy to bring them wherever you need them. And Norma and I are extremely passionate about this program, if that doesn't show already, but we're going to do the best that we can to make the most of what we have already. So anybody have any questions?
Yes, any questions for our great presenters?
Thank you, Representative Hashimoto.
Very informative presentation.
I wish everyone could feel not just the passion, but the fact that this program is more like a movement, and that everybody matters and that we're not going anywhere. This is our hale. So I hope to see you folks there. We hope to see you all there, not just for this particular Monday, February 13th, but the subsequent months that go through May. And we'll have other series as well. So share your input for what kind of series topics you guys would like to see, and we make that happen. Thank you.
Wonderful. Anyone with questions? Questions for this great group?
I see a chat here.
That's
Okay.
for Caroline.
Okay.
Well, if no one has questions right now, you guys put your contact, right? Maybe you want to put your contact again in the chat just in case they have something, maybe an email or phone number if someone wants to call. Then they know how to get in touch with you guys. But I'm sure I see your brochures around, so we just got to get it out more. I think we might even have some in my front office now, which is
Right on.
Thank you.
Yep. We brought them over there for
yeah,
you guys.
yeah. So good job in doing the outreach. But okay, if there's no questions, thank you guys for taking the time for coming. You know,
Thank you.
we'll be in touch. I
Thank you
think,
for having us.
yes, absolutely. In the meantime, I saw some of my other colleagues join us. We have Rep Sayama, we have Rep Chan, we have Rep Lamasao, Rep Takinouchi. Thank you all for being here with us today at Kupuna Caucus. Appreciate the support of my colleagues and being interested in some of these issues. All right, so we'll move on. I think we just wanted to do a quick update on some of our Kupuna Caucus packages items. And let me see if I can pull this up. All right, can you guys see this Word doc? Okay, so just an update on some legislation. I do want to thank all of you for submitting testimony on our priority bills that we introduced. I think most of the movement is happening on the House side. So we did pass out one of the big bills that we've been pushing, which is Our Care, Our Choice. So that was passed out of the Committee on Health on February 1st. And so that will now move on to the Consumer Protection Committee. And so that was something that we really got to the end last year, thanks to the help of Kupuna Caucus and all of the advocates of associated with that bill. And it, of course, died in conference. So we're hoping that we can at least get it that far and maybe get it over the finish line this year. So we'll be continuing to work on that. On the House side as well, our bill on inspections for our care homes, I think that has been something that we've been pushing for a little while. That unfortunately has gotten deferred. I think what we need to do is we really need to take a look at some of the workings of how that works. I think the biggest issue with Department of Health, our OCA, is always trying to figure out how logistically it's going to work. So we probably have to put a little bit more thought into that bill in the off session. But at least it got a hearing, and at least you know, we know what some of the issues are. And then the last bill, HB 652. Which requires the Executive Office on Aging to establish a caregiver workforce support and development center. That passed out of the Committee on Health on the 1st as well. And now that's moving on to the Finance Committee. So that in the end, I think will be a money issue if we can make sure that we can get the funds that we need to establish that center. So those are moving. I think the ones that are I will need to check on HB 649, but I don't know if Caroline, you have any insight into this. I know for a fact HB 648, that is my bill, so in my committee. Oh, sorry, somebody's talking. Oh, I hear some feedback. Okay. Anyway, so HB 648, that will be heard in the Housing Committee next week, Wednesday, I believe. That's my committee, so I'm just holding it because I know I'm going to schedule it at some point. So that will move as well. But HB 649, Caroline, you have anything on that? Oh, Caroline, if for some reason you sound very...
You sound like a chipmunk, Caroline.
Yes, you sound like a chipmunk, Caroline.
Testing.
Oh, much better.
I guess you don't like the chipmunks anyway. It's a Friday. I guess we're just waiting to make sure that it gets a hearing, the SHIP bill.
Okay, you haven't heard anything though?
And we were in our, I don't know, maybe it got posted today. I just didn't, we've been in our board meeting all morning. So
Okay, no, I don't think it did. I
Yeah.
think what we'll do is we'll go talk to the health chair and see if we can get this moving. But I know for a fact that she's moving out all her triples. I need to also go talk to my Senate
probably.
counterpart to make sure maybe it's time for her to move some on the Senate side, because I think I've done all the work by moving all the House bills.
Oh, great. Okay.
But any questions, concerns? I guess, are there any other bills that you folks are trying to watch or track, I think now is the time to talk about it. So if anything top of mind, is pressing for you.
Could you talk about the hearing aid bill? Anything happening with that?
What bill is that? That did not end up in our
Oh,
package.
no, it did not. We actually,
I think I can speak to that. Troy, I believe that
Thank
was the one that you asked me to introduce.
Okay,
Was
there we
the
go.
remote testimony?
Repamato.
So unfortunately, Majority Leader Nakamura came to me and she explained that it was going to be deferred. But the reason is because they're going to adopt it through rule changes instead. So it's going to happen, just not in the form of the bill. And that's
Can you
all I
tell-
have to report.
okay. You can't tell us any more about details? No.
I don't have any other details. But you know what? I'll check with my staff that's been holding down the fort. I just had surgery yesterday, so
Oh,
I've been out of the office for a few days.
oh, I'm sorry. I hope you're feeling better.
Much better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks, Rep Amato. Appreciate that. Yeah, so Rick, hopefully we'll get that answers for you. And then we can keep on looking at what else we need to do. Greg, and then Caroline.
Aloha, Representative Hashimoto. I think you know me from just the testimony that I was providing, and I'm just going to be brief and ask you if you could please, on behalf of the Kupuna Council, help to schedule HB 178 and HB 1501, which are both ombudsman measures to help basically approximately a third of our population in the state of Hawaii. It's over 30% that live in condominium or HOA associations. So I'd ask that you could please schedule the time is almost gone. So these are triple committees, those two particular measures. And if we don't get them scheduled either today or first thing Monday morning, they are going to die where they sit. So I just ask if you could assist with that.
Okay, well, we'll take a look. I think I would recommend you take a look at the Senate companion and see if they can move it, because most of our triples are gone. We're pretty much done with triples. So we can take a look, but I think the Senate has to do their part too in moving some of these bills.
There is no companion on these, so these are both House bills. So unfortunately, there's no companion to them. So I think the way it works is if they don't get heard and scheduled by the 8th, they're going to never be heard. Is that correct?
Yeah, and so my goal is to move all my triples out today. So I'll have to take a look. I don't know if we can fit it in, no promises, but we will definitely look at it.
Thank you. And I just did get off the phone with your office. So I had muted my Zoom here and I was speaking to your office a moment ago to remind them all also. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure if we can accommodate, but we will definitely take a look. I would recommend next time you let us know much earlier than near the deadline. So
well, I did. I've sent numerous emails. So just
yeah. So just as an FYI, I think if you really want a bill scheduled, you should probably set up a meeting with us and to explain us the bill. Just a phone call. Sometimes we get a lot of phone calls, or an email. So just some inside tips on if you want to move your bills. Caroline, go ahead.
Hi. We are also, of course, following our EOA admin bills, obviously. One's for the Kupuna Care and one's for our admin claiming, which those, what was I going to say? Those are housekeeping measures, so we're following those. I also wanted to let you know that there is a House Bill 872 and a Senate Bill 1419 for the Healthy Aging Partnership. I didn't make the caucus measures, but there is a bill and a companion for that. There's also similarly to Healthy Aging, there's one for the S&P program that you just heard from. So that's House Bill 1487 and Senate Bill 1592 that we're just waiting to pop. And then I know Rick talked about the hearing aids, and Alzheimer's probably is going to talk about some of their bills that they have that they're following.
Okay. Well, Caroline, let us know if you need assistance in trying to move some of those, but at least everyone knows what the Office on Aging's priorities are. So that's really good. And now that we got a presentation from Senior Medicare Patrol, we gotta try and help them out as well. So we'll try and keep an eye on that bill. Thanks, Caroline. Diane.
Hi, I just had a question. If maybe Caroline could say something about House Bill 1486 about the Kupuna Care appropriation. Is this for additional funding or what is it?
We saw that, Diane. Yeah, that is, yeah. So House Bill 1486, and I may have to rely on my staff. I can't remember who who introduced that one, but it is for Kupuna Care. It reads very similar to the Kupuna Care bill, I believe, for the program itself. That was in 2019, and it has a blank appropriation amount. So I'm thinking it was introduced maybe to add additional funds to Kupuna Care, but not totally clear on that, Diane.
Is EOA, should we be asking for more money for Kupuna Care? How is the Kupuna Care funding doing?
Well, I do have to say thank you to the legislature last year. They gave us some of those federal ARPA monies for Kupuna Care. So right now we are okay. So, and we're just keeping an eye on that House Bill 1486 to probably provide comment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Anyone else about all the bills moving through the legislature? I think as was previously mentioned, at least on the House side, Wednesday is a significant deadline for us. We do have our triple referral deadline. So if it doesn't move out of the first committee by Wednesday, then those bills are dead. And then we'll probably work on more of our double referrals, and that needs to be filed by February 16th. So that's the next major deadline for our first lateral filing. So things are happening fairly quickly. I think, as I said, I've been trying to clear my agenda. So I've been trying to, today was my goal to get most of the triples out. I think most of the other committees are also trying to do that. So, because we need time for our committee reports to be written. So I think we will know more, I think, in the next couple of weeks of what's viable this session and what will kind of, die off at some point. But we're hoping that all of our priority bills are moving. So any other questions, concerns? Lay, I just saw Lay last night. Good to see you again, Lay.
Yeah, this doesn't have to do with a legislative agenda. I didn't know when to speak about it, but I did talk to Senator Mariwaki about it. SMP did a terrific presentation on fraud for medical bills. What about scams of other types? I recently got involved and I wanted to see how far it would go. And I won, what was it, $9 million, $1 billion? I can't remember. And they took me to the next step where I telephoned someone and I had to use my cell phone because my landline, I can't do long distance. So they got my landline number and now they got my cell number. And it was quite exhausting. And I told them that, I can't thrill that winning that money unless I can check on it more. And so, I said, email me, your stuff because it's too much. So anyway, the end of it is that I got the email, a lot of typo errors. The email account said Gmail instead of the company. And anyway, they're very persistent. They kept calling and calling and calling. And I felt that I should be reporting it to someone. So I went to the police department and they said that unless I lost money, they don't accept any reports. So after I talked with that woman, I was the Publishers Clearinghouse. I Googled them and found out that there's an actual employee by that name at the clearinghouse, but that's not that person. It is a scam. And so so then I tried looking at this, who can I call to report this? And the webpage for the city is very beautiful, but you got to know whether it's legislative, executive, whatever, to find ever, whatever. I couldn't find it. So I finally typed in the Office of Aging, and the response I got for the person there, she was very sweet, was, you know, we don't know what you can do, but you can call the federal government about it. So I looked at the state website, which is also terrible to find anything in. And I saw SMP, but it said for Medicare fraud. So that means that who can I call? But when I went to the police department, they gave me a brochure that that I didn't know that, you know, that they had. And on it, it says to call the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. Now, my problem is, as a senior citizen that gets easily scammed, who can I report to? I mean, why is it that you got to search and search and search to find out who you can report these scams to? And luckily, you know, I'm okay. And I check with my bank also. And but there should be some place that you can call that an easily discoverable telephone number,
Right.
you know, that you can call and report it, you know, because I feel that Hawaii should know how many of these scam calls are coming to Hawaii.
Well, all of your points, Leigh, are amazing, and thank you for your comments regarding our presentation. But I have to say, one of the things that you did was you gave them more telephone numbers, more email addresses, and they're going to now repeatedly sell those to other people. But we are totally here for you, and if you want to give us a call, I can give you more information. Norma's here; we can totally help you. We both, Norma and I, will completely agree. We need more resources out there, and we need the ability to be able to communicate with more of the population to let them know that we are here. And one of the things we don't stop with just Medicare. Unfortunately, that is where our direction comes from. But we do help with all types of fraud. And Norma's holding a book up right there, which is an amazing book.
Yeah. The short answer, Ms. Leigh, is that consider us the go-to source. And I apologize if what you saw perhaps online didn't posture you to think, oh, you know, I'll just call them anyway. So the idea is to call us anyway. So what we're doing is promoting fraud prevention education for Medicare and Medicaid as well, but also to pivot and with our counselors and whatnot, our staff, to assist people with alleged or actual non-healthcare scams or fraud. Okay, so romance scams, the lottery scams. So we work in concert with the Attorney General, the FBI, law enforcement, DCCA, public safety, narcotics enforcement. We have a slate of partners, and partners mean reciprocity. They're not just host organizations that want 6 of our standard presentations. And we travel together. We know each other, and I can contact the Glorianas or the Valeries or the Timothys or the Charles to say, hey, Uncle, when Uncle calls you, here's the context of his story so that Uncle doesn't have the full angst and frustration of repeating himself, and really just tweak that handoff so that when they're serviced, they get a good experience. And then we contact the agency to say, how was that? And we call Uncle Harry. Are you okay, Uncle Harry? So we try to really close up the contact. And for you, it would have been the same thing. So anybody who's listening and on this call, if you have any concern about something beyond healthcare, gift cards, imposter scams, Social Security, Bitcoin, just give us a call and we'll navigate the system to make it very compact and expedient for you, because our network is pretty expansive, right? So that's why I kind of said everybody matters, because we'd like to think that we can contact them for help, and then they can contact us for healthcare issues as well. So that's how it works. And it shouldn't be more than a couple of days, 3 days max. And hopefully fruition, resolution, not all cases, sometimes they take months or years, but in your case, we could have nipped that within a week or so.
Yeah. Well, my point is that, you know, the services are available, but how do you get a hold of it?
Correct. Access. Yes.
I can get a hold of you.
Great point.
I feel with a lot of fraud cases coming up, that means you're not communicating to the community as to where to get help. And I think more should be done about that.
Thank you. Yes. Well, point well taken. We have our monthly, sometimes weekly website planning meetings. So we'll huddle that point inside our discussion and achieve that point. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Right.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the question. Thanks for the answers. Anything, any last items on bills? All right. Seeing none, I think there is some updates in the chat, so be sure you take a look at those. Thank you, Repamato, for some of those other issues. Diane is sharing an AARP website about scams, so thanks for sharing that. So with that, I think that comes to the end of our agenda. Anybody have any announcements? All right. Seeing none, no announcements, we will see you next month in March. I think hopefully Senator Moriwaki will be able to join us at that point. And we will try and figure out some speakers as well. So if you have any particular topics that you're interested in covering or listening to, then be sure to let us know. And I'm sure we will want to schedule, someone that I think the body is very interested in. So always your ideas are taken into consideration. And we're always very interested to see what could be pushed forward. And I think by that time in March, we will also have a better idea on some of the bills. And so I think that will give us better clarity on what way we are heading. So thank you so much to our speakers. Again, very, very helpful. Thanks for the questions, and we will see you next month. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.